I'm joined now on the phone by a gentleman from Broken Witt Rebels, Mr. Danny Court. Welcome to Rockposer.com.
Thank you for having us. How are you?
I'm pretty good, and I'm guessing you're pretty good as well, seeing as how much is going on with the band at the moment.
Financially, piss poor. Well-being, tip-top.
Well, I think
I'm shooting the moon.
I think certainly the financially side, etc., could count for a lot of bands these days.
No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling electric. I'm feeling like Rocky in his prime.
Good stuff. Obviously, you guys are really, shall we say, come to the forefront publicity-wise, especially with the help of the likes of Planet Rock. I've got to mention congratulations for obviously being nominated for Best New Band on the Planet Rock Awards.
Yeah, it's thank you very much. Thanks for that. It's they have got behind us. We played. They playlisted Low and Guns, which went down really, really well. We've done Rockstock, and we're honoured to be playing this tour with them. So, and for Best New Band, I think we've already won it. Or if we haven't, the Wolves are out.
Well, you've got to be obviously one of the bands that strongly deserves it because, again, I was speaking to Stevie Westwood earlier, obviously from the band that you're going out on tour with on the indeed on the Road Stars tour, and just saying that it's great that British bands are coming back to the fore with this style of rock music. Yeah,
it's good to see how he's probably hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it is. It's. I guess we don't like to pigeon ourselves in any kind of genre, so I don't know what kind of style. I'm guessing he's probably saying Southern. I think there's more strings to our bow, but we are grateful that we're fitting into something, which is always nice,
I think there's a fair point that Broken Rebels don't just nicely sort of pigeonhole themselves, which is good because
No.
I like a band that has lots of different strings to the bow, so to speak.
For sure, as a listener on the ear, you don't want to be bored with the same old dross. Sometimes it can be if you're really stuck to a genre, it can be just very samey. I mean,
oh yes,
like everything, you've got to be versatile. I believe it's if you want to succeed and grow and bloom. So I like to look at ourselves as an ever-growing beast.
Have you all brought the different genres into the mix, or do you all like it sort of exactly the same bands?
We all grew up listening to sort of, soul records and stuff like that. Aretha Franklin and that. Me personally like all the soul sort of stuff. Fleetwood Mac, we've all listened to as a collective growing up. The Peter Green stuff and the Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks. We're all into the early Stones, of course, Zeppelin, and being from Birmingham, Sabbath. So we've all grown up listening to some good musics, and the collectiveness, I guess, from James's guitar playing, loving Zeppelin and loving Fleetwood Mac, and me loving sort of soul records. It has that kind of combination,
Funny enough, I was having a conversation with someone earlier today about Aretha Franklin. I was saying that's proper R&B, not the chavvy crap they call R&B these days. Oh,
I know. It's absolute dross, isn't it, nowadays? I still struggle with why they call it that. That's not R&B. Aretha Franklin is the queen of that, and still is.
Well, as I always say, and I've said it probably a million times, and people are probably sick to death of me saying it, but for me, there's only two types of music. Music I like and music I don't like. And I don't like to pigeon myself taste-wise. Okay, predominantly I like rock and blues, but there's a hell of a load of other stuff I like as well, and I'm sure it's the same with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if it sounds great, it's got me there. It doesn't. I don't need to be one of those genre snobs that only like, a lot of the die-hard blues people like blues, and sometimes we get earmarked as blues, and then people go, "Oh, it's not normal blues. You're not singing about depression and all that other bollocks," which I'm a bit. I don't know, but if it's good and you like it, you should sometimes go, "Well, that's enough for me,"
I do shake my head at times at, shall we say, some of the blues aficionados in this country, because they do get a bee in the bonnet about the most pathetic things at the end of the day about what is blues and what isn't. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know how people define it. I mean, I think it's starting from early Fleetwood Mac and the Peter Green stuff. They experimented with blues and put in different sort of stuff and put heavier guitar licks over the cross and basically electrified it up. So, that they were revolutionary in the blues world, but even those had their critics, which baffles me. And I just think we have influences of blues, but we're not a straightforward down. But some of the blues world are not big, fans of that, which fair enough. I like to think that we dip our toes in everything,
If I was going to pigeonhole you in any way, I'd just say that you are, for want of a better phrase, a traditional British rock band, from the point of view that you have got so many different influences coming in. When you even go back to the likes of Zeppelin, obviously there's a hell of a load of blues influences in that, and it's something that obviously for the 60s and 70s, sort of Britain ruled the way, so to speak, and it's nice that we're back in that position again.
Well, thank you very much. I'll have that compliment every day. Yeah. That's I agree with that as well. That's probably, we are British and we do, rock predominantly, and we like to influence other genres and to spice it up. So yeah, I'll have that all day. Thank you.
Obviously, what you've got released music-wise, obviously the EP Georgia Pine is out there available for those of you who have not bought it yet, and shame on you for that. Being one of these impatient fans, as I always am, when are we expecting to see some new material released from you guys?
Well, we had sort of a lot of dealings with the record labels and stuff like that, 3 or 4 offers, contracts, which we negotiated, and that sort of held us back a bit.
Right.
But at the other time, we had a really busy touring schedule, but again, which held it back even more. But in the meantime, we're sitting on so much material, probably 2 albums worth, if you're not being complete, honestly. And it's just we've signed a new management deal, so it's the powers that be. Once the right people get their fingers out their arse and start moving, then we're ready to take over the fucking world.
When it comes to writing that material, do you write as a collective? Is there just sort of maybe 1 or 2 of you in the band who seem to concentrate on that? And also, are you a band, when it comes to writing, who have to sort of lock yourselves away in a room, or can you sort of write anywhere, whether it be on the tour bus or what have you?
Yeah, no, we don't really write on the tour bus, and I don't write as a lyricist in the sense of I like to write for melodies, so a lot of our stuff is done collectively, and it's done in like the rehearsal room, so it'll be like a jam kind of vibe, and we'll pick up on, and we'll all it could come from a guitar, a bass, or a line, or a vocal melody line, let's say, and it sort of evolves from that. But yeah, I don't. It can come from anywhere collectively.
So rather than sort of sit down and sort of right, this is the structured writing pattern. You just let it flow and let's see which direction it goes in.
That's right. I think you've got to let it bloom. I think if that's like looking at it through the theory eyes, and I think sometimes the practical, in any way, shape or form, whatever career it might be, a theory's okay, but everyone likes the practical. I don't like the science behind it too much. I think that's sort of forgetting what the real reason is,
I think to a general extent, you can quite often tell from the point of view, going back to obviously that word soul, there's sometimes something a little bit lacking in an album because someone has sat it down and maybe thought about it a bit too much.
Yeah, I do. I think, your mind is probably sometimes your worst critic, and it can run away with itself to some degree. And if one morning you can wake up and love it, and if you let it slip or you put too much thought into it, it can become something that it was never intended to be. So I always like to sort of, if it sounds good and it gives you a feeling, and you need to capture that moment and work from whatever gave you that feeling, which you can never do on theory. You can always have to do it you always capture the moment when you're playing live.
It's like the same with the a lot of the project bands out there who never actually sort of meet, and it's all done via MP3 or whatever. I think that kind of misses a vibe as well, because if you're not all together in the studio, how do you get that sort of feeling, that mixture down properly?
I know, I don't get it. I mean, there's a lot of people that make music or make beats in their bedroom, and which, that's a good thing of that. You can make your music anywhere in the world, and which is a good thing, but I do think it has its cons because, sometimes you need to bounce ideas, and it's better to work. Us personally, we always find we bounce off each other's energy and whatever we're feeling at the time to make the song even better, and it just can't be done for us personally, and someone being a mad keyboard warrior making these beat in the song, and it's just not for us,
And obviously you got the dreaded, shall we say, auto adjustment of voice for. I'm not going to use the auto tune. Whoops! I accidentally said it.
Yeah, well, it's yeah. Again, that's a mad thing, which some relating to some R&B nowadays, which has an awful lot of that. But I think you've got to. For us, if you can't replicate it live, then what's the point? It's just no point in doing that. You need to capture exactly what you got to do live, and I think there's too many artists that lose out, that they try and get too clever and put stuff in that they could never replicate live. And or some degree, they'd need a lot more people to get that sound, which is more session work, which is more members. I think you've just got to go with what you've got.
Well, at the end of the day, live music is the most important thing. And if bands aren't out there playing, we're not going to have any venues left. That's
very true. Studios is great and everything else is good, but the only thing that matters and the only thing you get into music for is playing live. So, yeah, venues need to be open, and it all doesn't matter unless you're playing live. For us personally, we don't want to be sitting at home making the old album and promoting it socially. We want to be getting out there in the fun, and the only thing that matters is grafting and playing them live and interacting,
Well, obviously this Road Stars tour with in association with Planet Rock, obviously, which you're obviously going out with Bad Touch. I mean, you're doing what I call a proper British tour, i.e., it's not 2 dates and buggering off.
Yeah, and I agree. We've been quite lucky to play with other British bands like King, Joanne Shaw Taylor, and we also done some European dates with Kaleo and the Americans Whiskey Myers. So we've had a great sort of year playing with some artists and the festival season. But we can't help and be grateful to be playing all these UK venues in such a close time. It feels real. It's what's lacking nowadays. We want to keep the only thing that matters is keeping your foot on the gas and playing live every other night. That's all that matters every night.
I mean, there's a lot to be said about regarding how many venues have closed down or whatever. But when I look at how many bands are out on tour all the time, and certainly, I mean, good God, how many festivals are there in this country now? I can't keep up.
Oh yeah,
I'm guessing. For me, the scene's looking pretty damn healthy.
Yeah, it is. It still has its clicks,
of course,
as it's always had. And sometimes if your face don't fit, and especially with all these niche festivals that are coming up, it's great. It's great for music because everyone's getting a platform, even if it's on. We've done our time where we've played on the back of lorries, and apparently they call that a festival. But again, at the time, it's good and it's good socially, but. And it's still a stage and a platform to play your music. So, music is looking in a good way on the live front. Again, but I know a lot of people are struggling with keeping music venues open nowadays, which is a shame because the digital age, and I guess that's not helping it. Well, I still think it's in a healthy place.
I think it should. I mean, it makes me laugh. Maybe I'm just going to stick my neck out and say, a lot of people moan about, lack of live music, but don't actually go out and support it. I mean, let's face it. For most bands, and we're going to ignore some of the larger bands, the ticket pricing's not horrendous, and you're going to spend more than that on a couple of rounds of drinks at the end of the day. That's
true. I mean, I think this Road Stars tour, I'm not sure how much it is, but for us, it's gone up in price. But it's still not as extreme at all. I think just let's say ballpark £15. We used to pay for £5 and £7, which you can't even grumble. You couldn't even give them away for cheaper than that. But £15 for us initially was like, wow, this is a jump up. But when you look at bar prices in these venues, you're lucky to get 3 drinks with that. So, and God knows whatever else. So it is relatively cheap, especially in our genre, where we're at the moment. It's relatively cheap for a great night. We can't say no more than that. You're definitely getting your value for money seeing us.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, it's, as I said previously, if you don't support it, then do not complain if it's not there anymore. Thank God there's bands like yourself are going out there and playing live. Otherwise, I know there's bands playing out there who are doing the pubs and clubs and doing covers and what have you, which is fine, but it's getting... I always get a bit disappointed when some venues rather pick, shall we say, a karaoke-esque band rather than an original band.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess people have got to earn a career, and if it doesn't work out for them on the original side, they've got to pay the bills and do the covering a lot of wedding bands. But again, I think I speak for most musicians that do that. It's not that's not where your initial passion leads. It's a shame for that, but we're not into that. We're having a good crack doing our original stuff, and we've been humbled and grateful to be where we are at the moment and keep to do that. That's where we want to stay, and will stay.
Was music something that sort of grabbed you from an early age, and you sort of started playing very young, or was it something that you sort of discovered in your later teens?
Yeah, later teens, definitely. I mean, I always appreciated music, but I went through, from bloody rap, in school and everything else. Yeah, I'd like all kind of genres, pop and what it was. And I was listening to records when I was growing up as a kid, but I never picked up the guitar. So I was probably 13, 14, and I self-taught myself that. Okay. And I always played it. I guess, in after school, because in school I probably would have got battered if I was, the music. It wasn't the cool thing to do, and I was too busy playing football, to be honest. And it was only till when I really left school and went college and started saying, I don't want to write songs in my bedroom anymore. I see, let's get a couple of pals together and let's make some music. So I didn't really sort of go for music until late teens.
I guess it's also one of those things that when you're in school, I certainly remember, it's going back a long time, but I certainly remember in my school days that certain genres, certainly the rock side of things, were sort of certainly looked down upon, which they still are to a certain extent, and you were very much the outsider.
Yeah, it was the same way of us. I mean, I always admired the school bands, although it wasn't the cool thing to do. I always thought I can do that in my own head. Or I'd like to do that at least. But yeah, I was, it wasn't the cool thing to do in my school at the time. It was okay, you were known for that, but it wasn't the really cool thing to do. And not the thing that I wanted to do in all respects. I liked it, I respected it, but it wasn't the thing I wanted to do in school.
So I guess when you started learning to play the guitar, etc., you didn't guess you were going to be where you are now?
Not at all, no. Again, making songs in your bedroom to four walls, that ends up getting a bit, once you've learned, you've picked up a few chords and then you start writing the odd song to yourself and you think, I want to move out of that. So then you can't constantly progress and you set yourself a different goal in your mind, and whether that's getting a band together, getting a lock-up, playing your first show, and it grows and grows and grows. And to be where we've came through, this is a lot of, it comes with massive sacrifice. You have to quit jobs, you have to lose, give up everything to some degree, and you have to, it's all or nothing. I mean, we've been lucky enough, we haven't been working for a year now. We've been purely concentrating on the band, and thankfully, and we're humbled enough that it's been keeping us busy for that year, and we haven't had much time off, and when we do, we're writing music. So it is tough, but we wouldn't have it any other way. And
well, Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. The best of luck on this tour, which I must mention the dates. Obviously, kicking off March the 16th in Leeds and then finishing off at the fantastic Borderline in London on April the 8th. Best of luck with the tour. Best of luck with the future of the band. You guys certainly, from my point of view, deserve it. And I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks again. Nice speaking to you.